Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Broadband Universe podcast. I am Craig Corbin. Thanks so much for joining us today. It is a blast to be with you, and so glad to have our guest today, Sean Vanslyke, the CEO and General Manager of SEMO Electric Cooperative and GoSEMO Fiber in Sikeston, Missouri. Welcome, Sean.
Well, thank you, Craig, for having me. It's great, and congratulations on your new podcast.
Thank you so much. It's exciting. You know, the goal is to inform and inspire, and no story is more inspirational than what you have done there, along with the phenomenal team at SEMO Electric Cooperative, GoSEMO Fiber. Phenomenal story. We want to get to that in just a moment, but first, a big thanks to the sponsors of the Broadband Universe podcast, Vitruvi. Build faster, reduce costs, improve quality, and by Lit Communities. Light up your community. You deserve better internet. Well, Sean, when we talk about being at SEMO Electric Cooperative, Southeast Missouri Electric Cooperative, tell us how you wound up there.
Well, it's been a great journey for my wife and I. We've been married almost 34 years, and just blessed to be in the utility industry for almost 25, get closer maybe to 30 years now. I grew up on a dairy farm with my grandparents for a lot of my childhood, and then when I married my wife, she was a dairy farmer, and her family actually just got out of the business in the last 6-7 years, and we have journeyed around, and everything's about relationships. And when I was younger, I was a newspaper publisher in my life, and then we ended up into the utility business, and it has been a wild journey. And I've been an investor-owned a Fortune 300 company with 2 million meters, and then I had a chance 10 years ago to come here, and I'm just thrilled to death to be part of this journey with this cooperative, and where we're really making lives better.
One of the things that I think has always been inherent to me in the nature of the cooperatives across the country is service to the community, and that spirit, which obviously is exemplified there at SEMO Electric. Talk a little bit about that, if you would.
Yeah, and I would say when I was in the Fortune, the bigger company, it was about earnings per share, and it was also about the consumer. But here at the cooperative, as a not-for-profit, why we're not trying to make a large profit. We just need to be financially stable. But if we make a profit, we're giving it back to those who we serve. And then, like in the last 6 years, we were able to take the 80 years of experience with the electricity and jump that into the broadband experience. And so the last 5 years, we've been on this broadband journey that has been absolutely credible. And the feedback we get from our members, our consumers, our subscribers is just incredible. How they're able to participate in the worldwide economy and education, watch movies, just do things in the rural area that they haven't been able to do for so long.
And what you just shared, I think, is one of the big keys, is that we've long since passed the point that connectivity is a luxury, it's a necessity. And for long-term survival of local economies, and you touched on that, talk about, if you would, the process of making that jump, because that's not an easy decision to make, to dip your toe in that pond.
No, it's not, because one, it's a lot of money. Two, it's a lot of risk to those who have come before you and built something. It's like adding on. It's like not tearing down your house, but adding on twice as much as to your home as you have now.
Right.
And then third, it's just the culture of the business. It is a very competitive business. It's very fast paced. I enjoy it. Other people enjoy it. Some people preferred. We've had some people who left actually because they just weren't prepared for that, and they were a little bit uncomfortable. But the journey that we've been on, we started in the boardroom, and we did feasibility studies. We looked at things. We journeyed out to meet with some other cooperatives. We asked a lot of questions, and then ultimately at the end, we looked at it like a large ice storm that we would never get recovery of the funds and the investment. And we started plowing ahead, and I want to say we were kind of the second wave out there, because there were some first wave people like Como, United, Douglas out in Oregon. There were some folks out there, Callaway, who had started before us, but I felt like we were kind of on that second wave. And a lot of times in my life, I've been the first mover, not the second. In this case, we're able to learn a few things, but it was hard. The first 9 months to a year was really hard because the industry still hadn't been mature. And so the consultants out there, they weren't quite up to par like they are today. But it's incredible what's happened to the industry in the last 60 months, 5 years, if you will, how fast it's accelerated.
One of the things that you just talked about, asking questions, talking to those that had already made that move, is something that you have sort of passed it forward with regard to sharing the experiences that you've gone through, the team there at GoSEMO Fiber. And one of the most incredible aspects of what you have going on is the boot camp that you have incorporated for quite some time. Tell us how that all came about, and walk us through an average day.
If I go back in time, when I first got here, the employees asked me to help rebuild the reputation of the co-op or add to it and just have a lot more pride. So we started internally something called Camp SEMO, where we learn about each other's jobs through a 1 or 2 day camp, if you will, where you actually go through every department, then you go out with a one-man truck or one-person truck, and then the next day construction. Well, that evolved, and we've had about 100 people, outside vendors, go through that. And then Camp SEMO became a fiber fly-in. So when we got into the fiber business, we started inviting other cooperatives in to understand what they're getting into if they get into the fiber business. And since that time, we've had almost 40 cooperatives either come here physically, and we've had a few that actually do it. We did it during COVID on Zoom. And so for the most part, about 40 cooperatives, most of them in-house. A typical day, we would start at 7:30 in the morning, and they would come in and we would meet. We'd have a roundtable discussion, see what they want to learn, listen to them, get their questions. We may not answer them right away, but then we meet with the IT, and then we meet with the fiber construction, the fiber drops, the fiber subscriber engagements, and then the accounting, the board aspect. We take them through the whole litany of what it takes, and then we actually take them out into the field, and we do some fiber construction, we do a fiber drop, and we do an in-home installation where we get permission from the homeowner, and we actually put booties on them, and we take them inside the home so they can see what it's like to not only do the installation, but also that relationship or that excitement from the member, the subscriber.
What an important bit of education, though, to pass along to anyone looking to get into this industry, because it's a very different animal from the cooperative traditional approach. And I'm curious what some of the reactions that you've gotten that might stand out, when you put them in the trenches and in the bucket truck out in the field.
The biggest thing is they don't people who are a more rural or more urban cooperative, and we've had some people from the city come in as well for either the Camp SEMO or for the fiber fly-in.
Right.
The Camp SEMO folks are just amazed at how long it takes us to drive from point A to point B to get to service a rural customer.
Right.
Secondarily, they say, well, where's your Starbucks? Well, they're the closest one's 45 minutes or so from us. That just surprises people from the city. But when they come from the electric side into the fiber side, it's going into people's homes that they're not comfortable with, they're not familiar with. And I had a natural gas background as well as electricity, and so I was used to having to go into people's homes, if you will, and relight pilot lights, or at least with my teams to go in when we had a natural gas issue. The fiber business is the same type. You've got to go into their homes to install the fiber. Now they have self-installation kits and things like that now, but you go in and you're going to see things that you may or may not want to see, and you have to train yourself to just kind of be tunnel vision and not see what you see and forget about it when you leave, because people have different lifestyles, and it's not our business to judge how they live or what they have or what they don't have. It's to simply give them that service so they can do what they want to do in their personal lives. And that's probably the biggest thing when I talk to people and they come here. We try to give them a flavor for, expect this, so that you're not surprised when this happens.
And what a wonderful thing that you're doing with that process. And again, this is the Broadband Universe podcast. We're visiting with Sean Vanslyke, the CEO and GM of SEMO Electric Cooperative and GoSEMO Fiber. Broadband Universe is brought to you by Vitruvi, build faster, reduce costs, improve quality, and by Lit Communities. Light up your community. You deserve better internet. Well, when we talk about what you have done there at GoSEMO Fiber and SEMO Electric Cooperative, there's a big tie-in to what transpires with the NRECA. And very recently, you served as a keynote speaker at one of their large events. By the way, I missed seeing you at Tech Advantage up in Nashville. I hate that I missed that. But tell us a little bit about your most recent keynote.
Yeah, and I should go backwards because I just want to make sure that it's not Sean doing all this work. We have a great team, as you mentioned in the beginning, and we refer to them as Team SEMO. And again, I'm just blessed to be on that journey. And part of that journey, though, is me traveling, if you will, and going out to NRECA events or other events and speaking on behalf of Team SEMO. And just recently had the chance to do the keynote, as you mentioned, at the NRECA, which is the National Rural Electric Cooperatives Association Directors Conference. So directors from, I think, 203 states, 203 co-ops were represented at that meeting, and it was fun to do that. And we talked about the importance of communication, and much, whether it's social media or newspaper or whatever we want to talk about, but social media and the media in general is so important, but communication is so important. And I alluded to, going back to the dairy farm, that the cows, for those who understand dairy farms, the cows are milked twice a day, and whether you feel good or not, they have to be milked twice a day. And communication, especially now with social media, has become something that you have to pay attention to every day. In the old days, Craig, you and I are a few years older than a lot of people that might be listening, or we might still be younger than some. But you know, communication, I could do something today and you wouldn't know about it for a week or two, or you may never find out what happened. Today, it's instantaneous. When we do something, it's posted out there and everybody sees it. So you have to be on guard, you have to be transparent, and you have to be telling your story, because if you don't tell your story, somebody else is going to tell it for you.
No question about it. And you know, you talk about the phenomenal work done by the NRECA. I did have a chance to visit during Tech Advantage in Nashville, which was a phenomenal show with Brian O'Hara, the Senior Director of Regulatory Affairs for Telecom and Broadband. And he was just really enthused about the number of co-ops that were making the decision to move toward providing services for their members. And that's something that I think cooperatives are uniquely positioned to do, and do well, because of that service mentality. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and Brian does a great job of keeping us educated or informed if what's going on on the Hill, and what's going on with different laws or things the FCC is doing, the Federal Communications Commission. But co-ops are primed for this fiber, and there's more than 200 now out of 900. It's growing. It's getting closer maybe to 300 now. I don't have the exact number, but it's fun to watch this happen.
Yeah.
A lot of people think it's because we own the infrastructure, meaning the poles. I agree with that to a point, but I think our service mentality is what pushes us way out there. Yeah. We care about our members. We care about the fact that if they have a problem, we'll get out there and serve them. And a prime example would be if they have an outage on a Saturday or Sunday, we treat it just like it's an electric outage. On the fiber side, we're out there repairing that, restoring their service, and getting them back online. I'm not sure you can say that for everybody. My hope is maybe that the cooperatives actually changed the business model for the entire broadband space. We've seen that here locally. So when we started in 2017 and early 2018, there was contracts, there were special deals going on, there was just a lot of things going on by the big providers, and now you wouldn't have to sign a contract in our area for anything at this point, because we never started down that path. And we picked simple pricing, $50 or $80. We don't play games, we don't give deals, we don't give credits. We just are straightforward about it because we think that's the best way to do it.
That is so exciting, and I agree, and I do think that the cooperatives will play a huge role in changing that culture, which is in dire need in many cases of being changed. One of the hallmarks of your leadership style is positivity, encouragement, enthusiasm, and one of the things that I have appreciated so much over the last couple of years is something that you put in place during the pandemic, and that was your Friday feature. And today, I think, marked, as we are standing here today, number 107 in that series. And I am so interested to know the genesis of that process and how it all came about.
Well, very humbly, I appreciate you asking about it and telling others about it. It is something that started back in March of 20, and we all remember March of 20. I remember I was at a meeting for the Missouri Institute of Cooperatives. It was a night before our annual meeting, March 11th. We were at a restaurant, and we were watching, and we noticed on TV that the NBA players are starting to come off the court, and the game is canceled, and we're all looking at each other thinking, I'm not sure tomorrow's conference is going to happen. Yeah. And sure enough, the next morning we canceled that conference on March 12th. I still have that USA Today from that morning to mark that occasion there. But as I came back to the co-op, and I could immediately see the faces on people What are we going to do? What's going to happen? Where are we going to go? What do we have to look forward to? People were concerned because not many of us remember 1918, and so it just something. So I felt like people needed some hope, and so I started doing about a 1 minute or less video every Friday morning, and it's usually posted by 7:30. And my wife, for the most part, is behind the camera. There's some times that she's not, and you can tell when Sean's doing a selfie and when she's there. And maybe we've had a couple of staff members here help me on a Friday morning, and so it's a group effort sometimes, but it is just something to give people hope. And some weeks there's hundreds, or some weeks there are thousands of views because we put it on different social media outlets. And I get usually a comment a week that wants me to keep doing it, or some feedback, and so it's just pushed me to keep going. And as you mentioned, this was week 107. We haven't missed a Friday since, and I hope and pray we don't. But regardless of where we're at, we shoot it that Friday morning. It's not canned. It's not put in the can earlier in the week because I thought I would do that at first, but it's not authentic enough for me, because I might sleep Thursday night and wake up Friday morning as I did this morning. I had one thing I was going to talk about this morning. I end up talking about something else because that's I guess that's what the good Lord put in my heart this morning, and that's what we put out this morning.
And that other thing that you talked about today was Admiral Michelle Howard. A phenomenal story. Share, for those that haven't seen the Friday feature, share a bit of that story if you would.
Well, in this case, that speaking event that I got to do on Monday, before I got on the stage, Michelle Howard, an admiral, a 4-star admiral from the Navy. I believe she's still the highest ranking female ever in the Navy. She actually had her own ship, and she was the one, her and her team were responsible for saving Captain Phillips back in 2009. And she related that for two purposes. She had a diverse team that came up with some great ideas, and she explained how that worked and how they saved Captain Phillips. But she really said it was the courage of her to listen to her people, or to her group around her, that really led to that. And her her courage to listen is something that's so important for all of us, because I'm a fixer. I like to listen, and even in marriage after 34 years, I still have that tendency to try to listen to what's going on, but I immediately want to tell my wife, hey, if you did this, this would fix that. And I still haven't learned that lesson, Craig. I keep working on it, and someday I'm going to learn to be a better listener. But even at work, it's hard to sit and listen sometimes, because you think in your head, I know what that answer is. And sometimes we just have to bite our tongue and have the courage to listen, because sometimes people just want to be listened to. They just want to know that you're listening and that you care.
2 ears, 1 mouth, and that was part of the message that you had. I am in the group that strongly enjoys and appreciates every single episode of the Friday feature, and I do hope that it continues. It really inspires so many people, and I have enjoyed looking at the responses that you get when it's posted, and so that is much appreciated. One of the other things as we begin to wind down this visit, and thank you again for the time, that I saw posted recently was something that I wanted to make mention of, and congratulations are in order. You recently competed and completed a 5K race. I think your second career 5K, but this one was for a very special cause. Share with us, if you would, about that.
Yeah, this one here, and it's something I've been trying to do. I've always wanted to maybe run, but I'm just a kind of a big guy, and I love to eat, and I love to eat at night when I get home because I tend to eat late. And but this one here, this 5K, was here in town, the Kenny Rogers Children's Center. And I actually, in our church, we have a young lady who is in there and has used that. But they help children with different types of challenges and disabilities. And it's a wonderful thing. It's something that's kind of hidden here in Sikeston, Missouri. But they help kids around the United States, and they do a lot of different things. And I will tell you, that 5K was just an opportunity for me to run that and raise awareness for them, and help raise some money for them, and give back to those children. And I'll be real honest with you, Craig, about halfway through I was almost crying to myself, thinking, can you do this? Because the first part was uphill and in the wind that morning, and it was just part of it. But by the time you start coming back down the hill and get to that final corner, it's just good to do it. But you know, if God can use me in a way to bring awareness to things like that, we're going to try to do those things. But I do have to practice a little bit, because I ran one in October, and I just showed up for this one and did it, and I beat my time, and they didn't all go home, so at least I got back before they took down the clock and everything. But But it is fun, but it's challenging myself to be a little bit better and to be better in some other different areas.
Absolutely. Well, if I get a chance to come and visit you and the team there at GoSEMO Fiber, I'll bring my running shoes and we'll go out and stretch the legs a little bit.
That'll be fine. You may run and come back and catch me.
I love it.
Just run ahead of me, and then I'll turn around when you come back.
Sean, we appreciate everything that you and your team are doing. They're a phenomenal example for the way that it can be done. We appreciate the fact that you're so willing to share the experiences of the GoSEMO Fiber team with others that are looking to get into it, because that's a big part of making it all work in so many parts around the country that are in dire need of connecting the unconnected. Thank you so much for being with us here on the Broadband Universe. I can't wait for another opportunity to get together and see what else is going on at GoSEMO Fiber.
Well, we appreciate it, and humbly we try to stay humble here, and we appreciate things like what you're doing to bring awareness to it. And the magic of the cooperative world is that we share things, and we all try to work together, and it's a great thing. So thank you for having me.
Job well done. Keep up the good work, and thanks everyone for letting us be a part of your day. We'll see you the next time right here on the Broadband Universe. So long.